Now that the 2024 Call of Duty season is over with OpTic being crowned your champions, I'm going to do a tier list of all of the CDL pros that played this season. There will definitely be picks that I make that you do not agree with, so let me know in the comments below. And if you do agree with some of my picks, you can let me know about that as well. If you also enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, and let's dive into this list. All right, so we're just going to go in order, player by player. We're not going to do all the D tier up, but it is going to be S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier. First off, as you can see, we have Atlanta FaZe, and BZ had a really good year. I think all of the FaZe guys did have a good year individually, statistically wise as well. Obviously, they had good placings. Top champs was not what they wanted, of course. Right off the rip, I'm going to put a BZ, Celium, and Draza in A tier, and Simps got to obviously go in A tier. I feel like he just played at a little bit of a different level to where all the other players, when they took a little bit of time off, maybe had some inconsistent series, Simp was by far the most consistent at the top, which is why he won his MVP. Next on the list, we have the Boston Breach members, and this is going to be kind of interesting. I do have some hot takes with some of the players here on this list, so let's just go ahead and dive into this. I think the best player by far was Beans throughout the whole season, and that's why I'm just utterly shocked that he is now on Ravens and is not with Boston anymore. I've said before and I'll say it again, Beans has that superstar factor. Beans is that player who can take over a map and win you a series all by himself, potentially. And so for Boston to move on from him, I really just don't understand, and it really doesn't make any sense. Capsule's going to go in D tier. He got dropped pretty early. Things didn't really work out for him, and so he didn't even play long enough for him to get anywhere higher than D tier, so D tier for Capsule. I'm going to put Major Maniac at D tier as well. I think he kind of came into a rough situation, and he said on Twitter that he knew that, but he didn't do enough to help them win any more than they were already winning. They were losing a lot, and they lost when he was still there. Pentagram was a D tier as well. I just think that some of it might not have been his fault. Maybe he was forced to play the roles differently than he preferred in Challengers when he was playing at a higher level. However, you came into the league, D tier, nothing more to say. These next three Boston players are where I have high-level controversy takes, so let me know in the comments below what you think. I'm going to put Priesta in C tier and Slasher in C tier while dropping Snoopy into D tier. This is not personal when I say this. I just don't know if Snoopy is a superstar player, and I took it personally when they chose to keep him once again over players like Beans. I mean, Beans didn't even start the year on the roster. He was down in Challengers, and so for him to not even be on their roster at the start of this year, when I thought he played the best last year, come on now. Then for Snoopy to once again stay on the Boston roster after they had one of the worst seasons you can possibly have, and Beans not even stay, who was by far a better player than him. Slasher and Priesta, I think, are great veterans. I think they both had good years the season before in Modern Warfare 2. I do not blame how things on Boston went for them. I think Slasher got dropped too early because of his internal voicing of his disapproval for Snoopy. Priesta was just on a dumpster fire. So the little bit I saw of Slasher, I liked what I saw. I'm going to put him in C tier. And Priesta made the best of the situation he could. He did not play the best. I'm not saying he played good and everyone else played bad, but which is why he's in C tier. But I definitely think those two contributed better to Boston than the four down here. And so that is why these two are going to be in C tier. Next, we have the Carolina Royal Ravens. And I'm going to put Clay in C tier as well, along with Fellow. I think both of them were just kind of a similar role with Minnesota, with gunless and accuracy. I think both of them would have probably been a little bit better if they were partnered with a faster AR counterpart. So since they were both together, they kind of just took turns. You couldn't have them both pop off at the same time, it felt like. I don't know. Maybe C tier performance. You didn't make champs, so I'm obviously going to be a little bit more skeptical. Yeah, we'll do C tier category. Borderline hot take incoming. We're going to put Gwen and TJ in B tier as well. I think TJ has low-key been a very consistent player for the longest time now. He's been playing for many, many years on pro teams. He's been playing at high levels. He's been on bigger teams that have been very successful. In Modern Warfare 2019, he was on OpTic LA, and even though people did not like them because they were the OpTic brand, but not the OpTic brand, they weren't horrible. They did have some decent runs. Cold War, he joined the LA Thieves, which was kind of a dumpster fire. I don't pin that on him. It was kind of just a dumpster fire in general for them that season. Then he was on Boston in Vanguard, started all year. Very consistent. Then he was in Vegas, Modern Warfare 2. Very consistent all year long. And then once again in Carolina, very consistent, very solid sub player. And so he definitely did enough to earn B tier. And Gwen is a rookie of the year. He definitely deserves to be in the B tier. He didn't do enough to maybe be an A tier rookie, but definitely as rookie of the year, he's going to be in the B tier. And that is where I have Carolina. For the LA Gorillas, I'm going to put Assault in D tier. I like him a lot, but he obviously just, they couldn't get clicking while he was there, and so definitely going to be in D tier. For Diamond Con, I'm going to put him in B tier. I feel like he was one of the key pieces for LAG making their run to champs that they made, and he started all year. I saw him when he was in Cold War in New York. I thought he was a very good player then. I thought he could have deserved another chance a little bit sooner. I'm glad to see that he stepped into the league, had a really good season, and now he's even signed on with Rocker for the Esports World Cup. Estro's going to join him as well in B tier, while I put Fame and Flames in C tier. I think if Flames started the whole year, there's a good chance he might could have ended up in a B tier because he was kind of that X Factor player. When Assault left and Flames came in, they played a lot better. But compared to the other two LAG members, I'm just going to keep him in C tier for now with Fame, even though Fame has also joined a new roster as well. I'm more so just pointing out how the other two guys were a little bit more consistent, and Estro made his run for Rookie of the Year as well. And so they're going to be in B tier, and the other two are going to be in C tier. Next, we have the LA Thieves, and I'm going to put Afro in D tier. Once again, he didn't play really that long for him to be able to do anything better than D tier, along with Cammy. Congrats to Cammy for getting signed to Boston, and he had a really good run in Challengers, being runner-up in the whole Challenger scene. But we're not judging his Challenger season. We're judging his time when he was on the Los Angeles Thieves, and that was a D tier time. Next, we're going to have Ghosty go into A tier. Ghosty is a superstar talent on the rise. I think he's going to be an X factor in this offseason. If LA Thieves decide to keep him, they need to build around him a little bit more. I don't know what pieces they're going to make yet, though, because I feel like LA Thieves are on the rise slowly. So I don't know who they would drop necessarily for someone else. It kind of just depends on who's open, or if Ghosty gets cut, or if he decides to force his hand, maybe joining a bigger team, who knows. But LA Thieves have made the right decision in trying to invest in Ghosty this past season, and he is an A tier player. In the C tier, I'm going to put Joe Deceives. I really do like Joe Deceives, and I think he could have been a B tier. I just think there was a little bit of inconsistency. He did not always have the best moments high and low, and whenever he was on, he was on. When he was off, he was off, and so I'm going to definitely put him in C tier. Nasty's the same, pretty consistent all the way through. He kind of got underrated a little bit because of some of the dirty work he had to do on the Thieves. He was kind of the guy who didn't probably have the best stats, but he made key plays. However, even though you do that kind of dirty work, you're still going to be recognized as probably a C tier player, which is why I'm going to put him in C tier. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put Crimp in B tier. I feel like he's similar to Joe Deceives, just a little bit farther along, to where when he was on, I mean, he is like taking over a map. Kind of like what I talked about with Beans, is he's a potential star player as well. He has a takeover ability. Maybe there's a connection there, since both of them came from the Boston Breach Academy at one point, teaming with Doug Sensor Martin. Both of them were on Boston Breach last season. But Crimp has definitely done really well this season, and I think he's done enough to earn his spot back on LA Thieves if they decide to rework some things or even join another CDL team. Next, we have a Seam, and we're going to put him in the D tier. This really does suck that he joined Vegas the way he did, because he kind of got dropped from Boston. He could have easily been on the Boston side, and if he was in the Boston jersey, I probably would have put him in C, because kind of like Slasher, him and Slasher got dropped, I feel like, for not really a big reason. I feel like they were both playing okay on Boston, if not the better half of the two. But when he joined Vegas, that was when he kind of fell off. Dropped Purge for a Seam, thinking it would elevate their play, and then a Seam brought it down. So he's definitely going to have to be in D tier before his time on Vegas, but I wish he would have had a little bit of a better run. Next, we have Attach and Nero, and I'm going to put them both in B tier. They were by far the most consistent players on Vegas. I think they were the better players overall, and everyone else just kind of did their job as role players. But Attach and Nero were on fire. I think they're a good duo. We might could see them teaming together again next season. Maybe them two as a team of two going into another, but they really did fry. I think Attach is a stable B tier, A tier player, and Nero is always underrated. I think Nero might be actually, if he doesn't stay with Attach, he could very well be jumping to another team that needs a missing piece. Maybe a Los Angeles Thieves. I just think they're both two good B tier players. Everyone else on Vegas is going to be put in the C tier. Johnny, Gio, and Purge for his stint on Vegas. I think Purge was doing very well. As we were talking about, Vegas was doing very well at the earlier start of the season, and when they dropped Purge thinking they were going to get a kick by picking up a Seam, it didn't work out. You very much probably could have just argued pulling Purge back, but I kind of understand the bad blood there. But I think Purge was doing well. I don't think he got dropped for necessarily the worst reasons. He maybe wasn't shooting as well as the other guys, but he was doing his job. And you clearly saw when he was taken out of the equation how bad Vegas got. That alone shows that he needs to be higher than Asim, so he's going to be in C tier along with Gio and Johnny. Next, we have the Miami Heretics, and we have Eric Boom. I'm going to put him in D tier along with Journey. Didn't really work out for them on Miami, and once Miami found their 4, I think they ran with it, and rightfully so, because these guys were pretty good. I'm going to put Lucky in C tier. I think he was the lower of the 4 guys, but he did do very well, and I think he's kind of like that role player as well. Does a lot of the dirty work. But the other 3 guys on Miami just happen to shine a little bit more. So for the other 3 guys, I'm going to put all 3 of them in B tier. The B tier, C tier might be a little bit loaded, but I mean, they're not A tier players, obviously, because they did show up and get smacked by other A tier type players, but they're definitely all 3 B tier. Real, Metals, hope that they try to stick together. I think this is a team that can maybe stick together and actually get better next year, or maybe make a few changes. We'll see. I don't know. They're both good B tier players. All of them are. Next, we have the Minnesota Rocker, and I'm going to put Accuracy as a C tier along with Gunless. Very similar to what I was talking about with Clay and Fellow. I think if they were partnered with a little bit of a faster AR, then it might have worked out a little bit better for them, but they kind of just took turns doing better. When Accuracy was doing well, Gunless wasn't. When Gunless was doing well, Accuracy wasn't. You really could never try to get them on the same time, so I'm just going to put them both in C tier. I think that doesn't diminish like we see with other players here, like Nasty, with Lucky, with Fellow or Clay or whatever. That doesn't really diminish the role that they have on the team. It just means that they weren't as good as some of their other teammates they had with them. Lens is going to be the B tier and the only Rocker B tier player that was on this team. He made his run for Rookie of the Year as well, and he had a really good season. I think if he was on a better team, he probably would have made champs, but we'll just have to see. I'm excited to see him in year 2. Rocker trying to build more of a stable team around him, so we'll just see how it goes. The remaining 3 Rocker players, Awakening, Standy, and Vivid, are all going to go into D tier. I don't think Standy did as much to actually drastically improve them and their chances of getting to champs. Vivid and Awakening obviously started the team on the roster, and then they got dropped. All 3 of these guys are just kind of had a little bit of below average season, so we're just going to put them in D tier. We have the New York Subliners, your season runner-ups. Hydra's going to go in S tier. That's an easy decision. I'm going to put Kismet in B tier, even though Kismet had a lot of moments throughout the year, especially Major 4, where he was an A tier type player. He also had a really rough champs, and it kind of, I think, affected NYSL's run. So I'm definitely going to put him in the B tier category. I'm going to go ahead and throw Skies in the A tier. I think he's an elite AR. He's been one for a while, underrated to a degree, because when he was on Florida, people admitted he was good, but they were kind of like still, I guess, doubting him in a way. So when he joined New York his first year, I mean, they won champs, and then this year were the runner-ups. And so I think Skies is definitely A tier AR. I'm going to say it. I think the pickup was good. I'm going to throw Sib in the A tier as well. He had up and down, or he had a slower start. I think once he heated up, Major 3 going into Major 4 and all that, he really, really did turn it up. And from Major 3 on, he played very well. So I'm going to put him in the A tier category. This dude he's a baller. Next, we have the Seattle camp, and I'm going to put 04 in B tier along with Abuza. I think both of them are very well, and I think they contributed a lot to Seattle's run. I really did like Seattle. I just want to see them have a little bit more ice, maybe more time together. They had a lot of young players, will help. But I just want to see them have more ice, because that is literally why they lost both of their series that they lost. They were really good teams, and they played those series very well. They just could not step up when it mattered the most. Brezzy and Hook, honestly, the entire roster of Seattle is going to go into B tier. I'm just going to do it because I really think all 4 of them played B tier caliber COD. But the reason they weren't able to step up ultimately and make big plays is because they didn't play any A tier caliber Call of Duty. And so, but they all 4, I really like this roster, and I would not be against them considering sticking together one more year and just kind of seeing what happens with a full season of being together. 3 rookies playing. And now they've got experience with Hook, who's a veteran, world champion. So we'll just see. But I definitely think that this is a high caliber roster. B tier is perfect for all 4 of them. And the other 2 guys, Arcides and Illies. I'm going to put Illy C tier because he was actually playing good before all the drama went around of all the behind the scenes stuff. We're not going to get into that. He was actually playing okay when it happened, but I'm still going to put him C tier because of all the other stuff. And Arcides was not playing good. I hate that for him. I love Arcides, but he just was not playing at a high level. Got dropped down to Challengers and ended up winning Challengers champs with Lore Gaming, so congrats to him. But I know he wants to be back in the league. Hopefully people will remember his Challengers run and not his earlier start to this season. Last, we have the Toronto Ultra Clan. Kleenex is going to go into A tier. Envoy is going to go into B tier. Insight's going to go into B tier. And Scrap is going to go into A tier. That is probably the easiest decision I could make. I think that is perfect for all 3 of those placements. Envoy had a really rough start, but he did kind of turn it around a little bit. Insight did too. They're good caliber B tier players to where if they were to leave Toronto after this season, if they want to make any changes, these are going to be some X factor players that could join a really good roster. However, CleanX was an A tier player, one of the best subs in the game, and Scrap MVP candidate S tier. Lastly, we have your 2024 Call of Duty champs, OpTic Texas. I'm going to start by putting Dashy in A tier. I think that there were still a few questions of some of his other styles of play, maybe objective base or, as you would argue, teamwork. I don't know. You have to think something went wrong in that Major 4. That Major 4 run will be the greatest mystery in Call of Duty history. But I'm actually going to put all of the OpTic members A except for Shotzzy. Shotzi's going to get that ticket to S tier as a superstar caliber player. I think he's a huge difference maker, and he makes game-changing plays. That is going to be my Call of Duty player tier list. You let me know what you think about this list in the comments below. If you disagree, you can let me know. I can take it. And if you agree, let me know as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you enjoy. I'll see you guys in the next Call of Duty video. Peace out.